Hi Leo, this is Tisch Aitken, and this is your monthly report for the month of March 2022. We are in the new age of Aquarius, but it can feel like we are taking a step back to the epoch of Capricorn, and in a way we have been definitely for the beginning part of this year. Venus initially stationed retrograde on December 19th at 26 degrees and 29 minutes of the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn. And this set off where Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, retrograded in April of 2021. Venus and Pluto have been working together since the beginning mid part of December, and they met up on December 11th. They met up a second time on December 25th, and they will meet up a third and final time on March 3rd. And unfortunately, this entails a lot of loss, a lot of letting go, mourning the loss that we've all endured, and also figuring out for you, because Capricorn rules your house of habits, work, and routine. How can you restructure healthy habits in a very challenging time? Taking care of your mental and physical health, being productive in your work in a time that can still feel very limiting, and yet also in the new age of Aquarius, chaotic and disruptive. And so it's a very difficult combination. And Mercury stationed retrograde on January 14th, initially in the sign of Aquarius at 10 degrees and 20 minutes of the fixed air sign of Aquarius in your house of partnerships and relationships. Saturn is transiting in Aquarius until March 7th of 2023 in your house of relationships, figuring out partnerships that are working, that you want to commit to further, and partnering with yourself on a deeper level, but also getting real about relationships that aren't working, and figuring out how you can handle that in a healthy way that's productive for you. And if something's not working, really being real about it. Saturn is the planet of reality, among other things. And then Mercury re-entered Capricorn on January 24th, and it's stationed direct on February 3rd at 24 degrees and 22 minutes of Capricorn, again in your house of work and routine. And this set off the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that changed the world on January 12th of 2020. And that was the year of the height of the epoch of Capricorn. And Venus retrograded where Saturn, which is the planet of karma, responsibility, integrity, and limitations, was transiting from March 12th of 2020 through on and off through November 4th of 2020. Again, figuring out what is working and what is not, hopefully giving you an opportunity to revise choices you did make during that time, or perhaps giving you an opportunity to make choices you were not able to make in that very restrictive period. But this has felt very heavy and intense, and really re-triggering the beginning when the pandemic really got into lockdown. It obviously happened before March, but really when most places were really going into lockdown, especially in the United States. And so it's been a limiting and challenging time. And since December of last year, unfortunately, a lot more loss and endings. And so it's been very painful, but trying to figure out how you can heal through your routines, through taking care of yourself. And there, as we begin the month, Venus, Mars, and Pluto are all transiting in Capricorn. Venus and Mars are both setting off where Venus retrograded on December 19th. So we're starting to clear that energy on a level, but also clear the shadow. And also there's stellium transiting in Aquarius. Mercury is transiting in Aquarius, where it's exalted and brilliant in your house of relationships, partnering with others. Saturn is transiting there, forging healthy relationships. And Juno, which is an asteroid representing partnering, also is transiting in your house of relationships. So big time for you to really focus on your partnerships. And there are also 3 planets transiting in the mutable water sign of Pisces in your house of debt and death and joint resources, pain and healing, and figuring out how you can heal in this difficult time. The Sun, Jupiter, and Neptune are all transiting in the mutable water sign of Pisces in this area of your chart. So diving into healing work, which is not so easy, but at least Jupiter, the planet of optimism and expansion, is transiting in the sector of your chart, making it a little bit easier to deal with a very difficult time. So we begin the month, and there are 3 planets in Capricorn transiting in your house of work and routine. And there's a lot of emphasis on relationships, which will continue through March of next year. And on March 1st, the Sun forms a helpful sextile to Uranus at 9:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on March 2nd at 12:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is very innovative energy, and that could be good for networking and connecting with others professionally. The other thing too to keep in mind is that when Venus was retrograde, it rules your house of career and life direction, and it can feel really difficult to get things going. So now, helping you to move forward. On March 2nd, Mercury, which is the planet of communication, meets up with Saturn at 11:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in your house of work and routine. That can feel restrictive, but it's also really good for getting difficult chores and work done. So that is a good energy for doing that. And then there is a new moon that takes place at 12:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 12 degrees and 7 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces. And this new moon is very auspicious because it is conjunct Jupiter, the luckiest planet, and they are only 2 degrees apart. So that is a close conjunction. And that, the new moon is always a time for setting new intentions and planting new seeds and doing the law of abundance. And the new moon falls in your house of death and rebirth, rebirthing yourself, focusing on your finances, on your intimate relationships, and bringing some new beginnings in that area. On March 3rd, that's an intense day for all of us. Mars and Pluto meet up in the sky at 3:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that can be combative energy. It can be combative at the workplace. It can be good for getting work done potentially, and it can be good. Athletes often have a Mars-Pluto conjunction. If you're trying to get involved in a workout routine, a lot of focus on your area of health, but realistically that is heavy. And then later that day, Venus and Pluto meet up at 12:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That could bring endings with work situations, that could bring breakups. That Venus rules your house of career, Pluto rules your house of family and home, so there could be endings in that area. But it's an intensity. It's a very intense day, so just recognizing that. On March 5th, there's a beautiful energy. The Sun and Jupiter meet up in the sky at 9:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that is in your house of healing and transformation, very optimistic energy, and a lot of energy with Mars and Venus. The thing is now that we all have to remind ourselves, we're getting out of, the Capricorn energy in the month of March, and Venus and Mars started dancing together in the sky at the end of January, on the 30th of January, and they will do so until April 5th. And this is really good because it's the two cosmic lovers, very creative, amorous, and sexy energy. So Mars changes signs on March 5th at 10:23 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on March 6th at 1:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Venus follows suit and enters the sign of Aquarius at 10:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and on March 6th at 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The two cosmic lovers merge in the sky, exact degree and minute, at 11:12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on March 5th, and at 2:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on March 6th. And they meet up at the very first degree of Aquarius, which is lovely because this sets off the winter solstice of December 20th of 2020, when Saturn and Jupiter met up for a new 20-year story about structuring a new vision. And they met up at the very first degree of Aquarius in your house of relationships and partnerships, structuring what you want to expand romantically, professionally, and again, partnering with yourself. So the 5th of March has some really great potential and really good energy. On March 9th, Mercury, which is the planet of communication and information, changes signs and enters the mutable water sign of Pisces at 8:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, transiting in your house of healing and empowerment, as well as joint resources and money, focusing on that area. And then on March 13th, Mercury forms a helpful sextile to Uranus at 8:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is very innovative energy, good for networking and brainstorming. On March 18th, there is a full moon that takes place at 3:18 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 27 degrees and 40 minutes of the mutable earth sign of Virgo in your house of endings and completion. There could be some things you're letting go of at that time. It's also the house of dreams and spirituality. But with that, there are some very good aspects that day. Venus forms a helpful sextile to Chiron, the wounded healer, and that occurs at 12:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, good for creative and romantic opportunities, good for healing with love. And then the sun forms a helpful aspect to Pluto, the planet of transformation and empowerment, and that happens at 3:57 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So focusing on healing and removing blocks to heal what you want to create and to heal what you may have lost because it has been so tough. On March 19th, Venus squares Uranus at 7:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And whatever you think it is, it could be something else. Expect the unexpected when Uranus is involved, but there could be twists and turns with that energy. And perhaps there could be unexpected meetings or breakups with that energy. So be kind of an interesting day. On March 20th, it is the equinox, and that is, pardon me, one of two dates when the sun is exactly above the equator, and it is equal day and equal night. And in the northern hemisphere, it is the beginning of the spring equinox, which is a time of renewal and fertility and new beginnings. And in the southern hemisphere, it is the beginning of the fall equinox, which is a time of the leaves falling and, honoring the ritual of endings and getting towards death, so which is a part of life, the cycles of life, but honoring, what we need to release. So the equinox is always a good time to do a ritual to honor the next 3 months, the season that is coming up. And also on that date, Mercury and Jupiter meet up at 11:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time rather, and that is an auspicious energy. So bringing optimism and learning and communication, that'll be beneficial in all of this. So that's nice. And the sun is transiting until April 19th in your house of healing, money, and transformation. On March 22nd, Mars squares Uranus at 4:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That can be combative energy. That could be issues at work. It could be very explosive energy. So lay low with that. On March 23rd, Mercury meets up with Neptune at, it meets up in the sky. Mercury and Neptune meet up at 1:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Deception could get uncovered. There could be challenges with financial partnerships. So just know that that's not the best day for doing business dealings. On March 27th, Mercury changes signs and enters the cardinal fire sign of Aries, getting it together, cardinal fire sign of Aries, where it will be transiting until April 10th. And it's transiting in your house of friends and groups and networking. And that's also really it's transiting in your house of hope and manifesting and learning and teaching. So that's a good energy for tapping into optimism. And on March 28th, Neptune forms a helpful sextile to the north node of fate, and that could bring auspicious connections, spiritual connections, and it's just a really nice flow of energy. I wish you a lot of luck. It's been a very difficult time. Mercury is transiting in the beginning of the month where it's exalted, and we're getting out of this restrictive Capricornian energy in the beginning part of March. So good luck, Leo, and thank you.